begun their roster cuts as training camp in the preseason has ended. But more importantly, the cavalry is on the way. Players returning from the PUP list and the NFI list. Your latest Locked On Browns starts now.
You are Locked On Browns, your daily Cleveland Browns podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome back, my friends, to the show that never ends, your daily delivery of all things Dog Pound, LGB, NELOB, the Locked On Browns podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. I am your host, Jeff Lloyd, and I appreciate all of you who make Locked On Browns your first listen every day. The everyday crowd, the numbers keep going up. Don't miss a second of the action. Subscribe to Locked On Browns YouTube channel. Show is always available. It is always free wherever you get your podcasts. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Now, through September 22nd, all FanDuel customers can bet $5 and get a 3-week free trial of NFL Sunday Ticket from YouTube and YouTube TV. Visit FanDuel.com/LockedOn to get started. The good news, and we're going to get to a bunch here today, officially out of training camp mode, back into regular season. Browns less than 2 weeks away from kicking off September 8th against the Dallas Cowboys. Most importantly, we will do the waived player first, but then the good news. Safety Tyler Kohler has been released. Wyatt Davis, Lucas Horacek, Afeon Hicks, Landon Honeycutt, Caleb Johnson, Zach Johnson, Jeremiah Martin, Roy Matabikwe, Marvin Moody, Chim Okafor, Aiden Robbins, Jacob Sawyers, Rex Sunahara, Isaiah Thomas, Chase Williams, all have been released. I believe the Browns roster right now is right around 74 or so. But back to business for safety to Anthony Bell. Offensive tackle Jack Conklin. Quarterback Greg Newsome II. Defensive tackle Dalvin Tomlinson. Offensive tackle Jedrick Wills. Other than Jedrick Wills, all four are scheduled to take the practice field tomorrow when the Browns get back to business and begin work towards the Dallas Cowboys September 8th, 4:25 at Cleveland Browns Stadium. Nick Chubb and running back as well, Nyheim Hines, are not back yet. We will talk more about them in segment 2. But obviously a ton here to cover today. For the players that have been cut to this point, nothing, look, all the best to these guys. Not a name has been mentioned yet that was going to be, a concern as to whether or not they were, in contention. A lot of these guys were brought in late, injury replacements at some point. God bless them. You wish them the best. Certainly a couple of candidates here for the practice squad, running back Aiden Robbins, and others. But, it's here. And this is the saddest part of a day like this. And what's going to be the official by tomorrow is, about 1,200 guys, for at least for now. There's some, roster cuts coming, and it's, these guys, unfortunately, it's, maybe for plenty, it's the end of, culminations, dreams, and things they've been doing since they were, 6, 7, 8 years old. So terrible to hear that, but, you got to get that roster down to 53 one way or another. For the players returning, actually, that's also, it covered this year as well. There is a very, very good possibility that there will be a commissioner's exempt a roster spot, which means, Mike Hall would possibly leave the roster. I think the Browns are trying to hopefully get an answer on this by tomorrow, as it would impact, future moves as far as what they're going to do. Could open up certainly an opportunity for rookie Juwan Briggs. Not sure that opportunity is going to be there for Siaki Ika, but we're going to, just continue to monitor. But, for D'Anthony Bell, I spoke a couple times here in the last week or two that I was getting really nervous about his, where he would be as far as this roster spot. I would think if he's coming off ready to practice, I doubt the Browns are going to bring him back to cut him tomorrow. Stranger things certainly could happen. But hopefully for a guy like D'Anthony Bell, the injury hopefully did not cost him, and the missed time did not cost him as well. Jack Conklin, and as everybody knows, he was talked about last time, anybody saw Jack on a field and kind of working out. Jack was actually looked like getting in some reps at left tackle. He's not uncommon to their left tackle position. Certainly played some there at Michigan State. With the fact that Jedrick Wills will not practice tomorrow and Jack Conklin will, You can see that maybe they're gearing up to what could hopefully be their week 1 starting offensive line, which would be DeJuan Jones at the right tackle spot, Wyatt Teller at the right guard spot, the center spot, of course, for Ethan Posick, the left guard spot, of course, Joe Bitonio, which would put maybe Jack Conklin at the left tackle position for the opener against the Dallas Cowboys. You're just trying to get the guys you have and who are your 5 best on the field, certainly for that game, get all the protection you can for Deshaun Watson and the offense. So hopefully go out there and light up the scoreboard, similar to what the offense was able to do Saturday night in Seattle. Nice night certainly for, of course, DTR, and of course a nice night for Tyler Huntley as well. We'll see the way it works out for both those quarterbacks. You got to keep 3 on the roster. You can't just have an emergency that you can just bring up, as everybody was kind of hoping was going to be the case here. So if you want to have 3, you need to carry 3 on your 53. You don't get the the mulligan, the quarterback mulligan that everybody was kind of hoping for. So certainly a lot to do there. Greg Newsome, when you talk about having surgery on a hamstring, certainly it's a scary thought, and you really have no idea how long an injury could be like that. With a pulled hamstring, you're probably talking, greatest, best possibility would be 4 weeks. Most likely you're talking more like 6, 7, 8. But look, again, this doesn't mean that Greg's going to be ready to go week 1 against the Dallas Cowboys. It means that Greg is ready to return to practice. It does give Greg, ample practice time Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday this week. Certainly, see where he's at over the weekend and when he comes back into the building for what will be game week starting next week, of course, Monday, Tuesday, however the Browns manipulate their practices for the Dallas Cowboys. Dalvin Tomlinson, the talk was certainly from jump. He was going to have a scope, and all intents and purposes, they were hoping that Dalvin Tomlinson would be returning to be able to go in the opener against the Dallas Cowboys. This probably puts him on target for that. Even if he's able to go week 1 against Dallas, you probably think it's not a full workload. But the Browns certainly need, their biggest, baddest bro in the defensive line interior. And certainly, that would be the case for Dalvin Tomlinson. Again, Jed's surgery was later. It didn't seem to be significant. Jed certainly did try to push off the surgery to try to make a return towards the end of 2023. None of this could certainly be a situation where nobody's talking about any of this now, where Jed could have been healthy by now. Kind of did put the team before himself in that scenario, so I give him a lot of credit for that. And apparently I'm taking heat on social media for all of a sudden, after all this time, defending Jedrick Wills. Look, he's a model citizen. He is. If you want to, again, pick on his play on the field, that's fine. We all know, and we've seen the lapses and, and I've always called it the personal pause button. We've all seen that stuff. But, for intents and purposes, Jedrick Wills has been a solid citizen within that building and on this team in his time here. Has he lived up to expectations? No, I think everybody can agree with that. But God knows you Cleveland Browns fans have seen enough 3-toed sloths in your fandom time of this franchise to know that Jedrick Wills doesn't necessarily fit into that category. He was never replaced. He was never benched. There was never a negative word about, Jed inside the building. Yes. Are there lapses in his game? Yes. But for all intents and purposes, Jed has been a good dude on the straight and narrow in his time here. Hopefully he can close out what could be his final year here with the Cleveland Browns with a bang. We'll continue here, talk a little bit about the running backs, where the shape of that is with the news of Nick Chubb today. Your latest Locked On Browns continues. Don't anybody go anywhere. When you are hiring for your small business, you want to find quality professionals that are right for the role. That is why you check out LinkedIn Jobs. LinkedIn Jobs has the tools to help the right professionals find the right professionals for their team faster and for free. LinkedIn isn't just a job board. LinkedIn helps you hire professionals you can't find anywhere else, even those who are actively searching for a new job but might be open to the perfect role. In a given month, over 70% of LinkedIn users don't visit another leading job board. So if you're not looking on LinkedIn, you're looking at the wrong place, or you're not looking at all. On LinkedIn, 86% of small businesses get a qualified candidate within 24 hours. Hire professionals like a professional on LinkedIn. LinkedIn is constantly finding ways to make the process easier. They even just launched a feature that helps you write job descriptions, making the process even easier and quicker. 2.5 million small businesses use LinkedIn for hire. Post your job for free at linkedin.com/LockedOnNFL. That's linkedin.com/LockedOnNFL to post your job for free. Terms and conditions apply. Jeff Lloyd, your latest Locked On Browns continues. Appreciate everybody who makes Locked On Browns their first listen every single day. If you're not part of the everyday crowd, make a new plan, stand, subscribe to Locked On Browns YouTube channel on YouTube and as always. Show is always available, always free, wherever you get your podcasts. I think everybody was hoping, look, we all know, everybody was hoping 24, Nick Chubb, this miraculous return, injured week 2, Monday Night Football against the Pittsburgh Steelers. But now at least we have the first reality is Nick Chubb will be out until at least October. So no September 8th, no 15th, no 22nd, no 29th. Earliest Nick Chubb would be able to be returned would be week 5. So, to Nick, hopefully the process continues going smoothly, continues, going without incident. Nick has obviously been putting in a ton of work towards all of this. So we're really, really looking forward to when Nick does to return to this team. But it's going to be a bit. I know there were questions about his contract. Some people kind of jumped the gun. But it was leaked out today that the contract was structured differently this year for this season for Nick, with the understanding of the rehab process and with the understanding that he was probably somebody that was not going to be returning for the beginning of the season. Browns planned for this, appeased one of their, best players, one of the guys who's represented the franchise the best way possible in his tenure here with the Cleveland Browns. Nick Chubb plays 12 games. Nick Chubb gets every dime of his $12 million contract. Really, really nice move and gesture by the Cleveland Browns. And, you do things like that takes notice, certainly within your building, but that certainly has players' eyes open, ears open around the league. Players are a bunch of high schoolers. They gab, they text, they talk. Everybody knows how every franchise treats their players. Players who don't play for said franchise know how that franchise treats their players. The gesture of what the Cleveland Browns did as far as structuring and manipulating Nick Chubb's contract certainly goes a long way for the people in that building and for future people who will one day be going into that building. Nyheim Hines, and it's not really been much on Nyheim Hines as far as when, it's just he's not off the list yet. Don't know exactly where it all is. And, he's well over a full calendar year, from his, knee injury, which happened, certainly jet skiing. Again, he's a little bit, it's, right in that, Nick Chubb, as far as age and experience and time in the league, you have your questions about, how much of a workload would these guys have? Again, the aspirations right now for every NFL team is that you are playing a minimum 20 games. You do really well in your 17 regular season games. You get a bye, 2 playoff games. You win them both. You get the Super Bowl. That should be the goal and the expectation in every one of the 32 NFL locker rooms currently. How many of them logistically have a chance? That is a different story. But for the Cleveland Browns, coming off an 11-win season, that is what you're shooting for. You want to go out there, you want to win the AFC North, and you want to be able to host a playoff game, possibly 2, and then make your way down to New Orleans and represent the AFC in the Super Bowl. That's the way it works. That's what you want. So where you're looking right now, and even it is still interesting because, Jerome Ford, we know of right now in well health. Jerome's good, appears ready to go. As for Dante Foreman, currently nursing a rib injury. For Pierre Strong, currently nursing a rib injury. So when this final cuts down do happen, the Browns will have Jerome Ford at the running back position, and then most likely 2 other running backs who currently are dealing with rib injuries. You don't know. Nyheim Hines, maybe it could be tomorrow. Maybe it could be Thursday. Maybe it could be Tuesday, and he could be ready to participate in some way, somehow, shape, or form against the Dallas Cowboys. But for right now, we have no idea what the timetable is for Nyheim Hines. So certainly our ideas and concerns right now, it's a running back room that consists of 3 players. No fullback what to speak. They let go of Gio Ricci. Is that something they're going to revise that role again once again with Nick Harris? Who knows how this all works out? Could the Browns be in for the market for a running back? I would not be stunned. Could the Browns be in the market for a tight end? I'd be stunned if they weren't. I got to stay true to myself. Obviously, I've been calling for a tight end for a very, very long time now. So certainly, something else to consider there. Moving here awful with the offensive line, you hear about some other guys say we still haven't heard a word about Michael Dunn. I don't even know what's going on with Michael Dunn. But what I do know right now is that Wyatt Teller has started preseason games as a right guard. He has started preseason games as a left guard. So Wyatt Teller, for all intents and purposes, has probably surpassed Michael Dunn, even if Michael Dunn returned to practice tomorrow, Thursday, whatever. Zach Zinter is your future, next guy who's going to be a starter for this Cleveland Browns, whether it is not Wyatt Teller or whether it is not Joel Bitonio, the future is Zach Zinter at one of these offensive guard positions. They really, really like Javian Cohen, and they would like to continue that work relationship going. So I think Javian Cohen is going to be a guy that makes that roster. So it really makes you wonder where they are with Michael Dunn, and it's certainly difficult to trade somebody right now who's injured. And who knows, maybe Tennessee would have some interest, but it would all depend on how healthy Michael Dunn is, and then can he pass physical and get on the field ASAP? Because nobody's going to have interest in a player that can do nothing for them currently right now. Hudson is supposed to return to practice this week as well. Adeniji certainly is still going to be a while, but there's a lot going on here. As the Browns look moving, manipulating, with the sights on the Dallas Cowboys. Certainly got to be some positive air in that building right now. Greg Newsome obviously had his tweet out. Certainly a little giddy little kid gif, knowing that getting back out there, and they miss the guys. Everybody misses the guys. It's always difficult to be the injured guy. Whether it's right or wrong, you're usually treated a little different. You're usually reacted to a little different. It's just the way it happens. And Greg, for what turned out to be such a really strong year for him. Turned out, and found a way to really, really contribute on the inside. Certainly got us a chance to play on the outside. Injuries here, injuries there. But Greg Newsome was a really, really big part of this 2023 team. Now with his fifth year option picked up for 2025, can just go on out here and hopefully just ball out for this team in 2024. This team, really needs him. They need that strength of those top three corners that they have in Denzel and MJ Emerson. All the talk that keeps going out there. Look, we're all aware that Denzel Ward has had the issues with his head. I don't like accounts that put it out there. Just look, everybody knows, but what are you putting it out there for? It's not like I'm saying it's airing somebody's dirty laundry, but this is look, I mean, whether or not, and who knows how serious this is, for Denzel to make these decisions. It's a really big spot in his life. I mean, there's a lot going on as far as his career that could be related to what goes on to his post-playing career. I know a lot of people are wondering about whether or not he is going to wear the helmet apparatus in games. I think all it's going to take for that to happen is it's going to take for a couple players to wear it. Nobody wants to be the first, essentially, to wear that. But once other people start to do the normalness of it, that'll probably, that stigmatism of it, that'll all kind of drop. So if Denzel wants to be bold, and look, we all know he's got the certainly got his charity, and he has no problem about helping either others and trying to be don't feel like you're different, be yourself. And so it wouldn't be surprised me if maybe Denzel does go that route. He's had a ridiculously good career to this point, still one of the absolute top 5 best cornerbacks in the NFL. I just it's I don't know, it just seems unjust for people to be basically trying to monetize. Certainly that's just disgusting, but also trying to gain attention to their accounts by bringing up something that all types of purposes. It's a pretty serious thing when you're talking about one's health the way we do when we talk about number 21. Can't wait to see him. MJ G new. Getting excited, certainly getting excited, and kind of all got a slower, all got a slower enthusiasm just a tad bit, because it is not this Sunday. It is still one Sunday away. We're going to continue here on your latest Locked On Browns. Appreciate everybody for being along for the ride. You've heard us talk about our sponsor, FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. Well, we have something a little different for you. Now, through September 22nd, all FanDuel customers can bet $5 and get a 3-week free trial of NFL Sunday Ticket from YouTube and YouTube TV. Then with the YouTube TV base plan, you'll be able to watch every regular season Sunday afternoon out-of-market game. All you need is a Google account and a current form of payment, and you can cancel at any time. Visit FanDuel.com/lockedon to download America's #1 sportsbook. Your latest Locked On Browns continues. I am your host, Jeff Lloyd. We appreciate everybody who makes Locked On Browns their first listen every single day. The everyday crowd, the numbers keep growing and growing and growing. Appreciate everybody. Do not miss a minute of the action by subscribing to Locked On Browns YouTube channel. The show is always available. It is always free wherever you get your podcasts. Now, we all know, obviously the state of where this team is, and how big. It's starting to get, look, I don't want to care so much. And I know a lot of people, okay, well, this team, they went 0-3 in the preseason, didn't play anybody. Look, there were 10 starting quarterbacks in the NFL who did not play in the preseason. Okay. So it's not like this is some anomaly that Deshaun Watson didn't play. Does it seem a little strange that Kevin Stefanski kept telling us starters were going to play and then starters didn't play? Yes. Look, regular season, you say whatever you want to basically throw your opponent off your scent. I don't know what exactly the thought process was here. Certainly he is a grown man. He's got every opportunity to change his mind at any given time. But a simple, I don't know. I haven't made my decision yet. But, and it's fair to say that you say people are going to play, then they don't. And then, people wonder what's going on. You can understand, how that comes about. Again, not saying it's right, not saying it's wrong, but it does seem a little weird that we're trying to just, I don't know, just say, I don't know. I mean, it's just that simple. It's nobody's answer to know, because if it was Thursday, week 1, and if somebody said, well, is Jedrick Wills playing on Sunday? What is Kevin Stefanski going to say? I don't know. So I got to say, I'm not giving you an answer. I mean, I'll be honest with you. I took a podium. That'd be the answer to most of my questions. What do you think about so-and-so? I don't know. Is he going to be able to go? I don't know. What do you think about the other team's offense? I don't know. Who cares? Because you get bulletin board material, all this crap, the other stuff or whatever. But certainly were some highlights, certainly from, Saturday night, and, congrats to DTR and certainly Tyler Huntley. Certainly be able to go out there and put a little bit of show for this offense. Michael Woods, it's going to be a really, really tough decision with Michael Woods. Guys had a really, really nice camp, did some nice things at the preseason games. You drafted Jamari Thrash, caught 10 passes. I think it was over 130 yards, touchdown here in the preseason. Really, really, really impressive rookie camp for, certainly for Jamari Thrash. Absolute roster lock, in my opinion. So you have to just see where these go. And like I said, 74, there's about another 19 to come. But now you're getting to that point where it's close, and look, some of these guys, hey, they may have value. So right now you're working the phones, hey, any interest in this guy, any interest in that guy, and trying to, if you can get, even a nickel on the dollar for any player it is, by accumulating a draft choice as opposed to releasing him, hey, you're doing a great service certainly for your player, but you're also doing a great service for yourself. Certainly, things to monitor there. Haven't really seen a tight end yet that I think will wet the Browns' whistle, which hurts me on the inside, as you guys know. Seen plenty of former Cleveland Browns players released. Not sure if any of them are any hurry to come back. As far as because this team is just now that absolute stacked of a roster as compared to where it was years ago. So who knows how that all works out. But you're lining it all up here. Certainly the Michael Hall news, if he will, if he won't. And I don't know exactly how it works, and it's not like the league is going to run to do any favors for the Cleveland Browns. But the Browns would certainly like an answer, somewhere here, as the time is now, probably somewhere in the next 20 to 21 hours before they put in those final cuts. So if they know that Mike goes to the exempt list, that'll give them their 5th defensive tackle to be able to keep, whether Juwan Briggs most likely. The 5 edges that are staying. Maybe still a question about how the linebacker room works out. With Geno returning to practice, it's, I know what 5 cornerbacks are going to stay. It's going to come down to Tony Brown or Justin Hardy. Apparently guys with a special teams resume who I never want to see play cornerback for for Jim Schwartz again, ever. For D'Anthony Bell, is that roster spot safe for him? Missing all this time, it's really difficult. When you're about to be 28 years old, you were an undrafted free agent. But when we saw D'Anthony Bell last year, we saw a guy was able to play a little bit and contribute a little bit, certainly in the nickel and dime defenses. We know about his special teams ability, but again, special teams is not it's not your father's special teams anymore. So we're still working through all that and trying to figure all that out. So, interesting to see the way roster breaks at wide receiver. Will the Browns have any interest in a running back or a tight end? Offensive line, obviously we know it'll be Conklin. We know it'll be Wills, Batodio, Posick, Teller, DeJuan Jones. That's 7. We know Zach Zinter is going to make this team. That is 8. Backup center certainly is going to be Nick Harris. That takes you to 9. Javion Cohen mostly gets you to 10, perhaps. But the question there is also that's 10, and you definitely want some sort of fourth tackle on here certainly with the injury history of Wills, Conklin, and DeJuan Jones. Will there be a tackle that trickles through? Does does Jaron Christian not make the Tennessee Titans and the Browns go revisit that? Is there somebody that maybe will get released from the Seattle Seahawks that Coach Dickerson certainly has a relationship with, and they want to get that guy in here? But that is it. Preseason is over. We are closer and closer to having our Cleveland Browns first 53-man roster. Some good news, positive news for the first time in a long time for the Browns. With G. Newt, Tomlinson, the tackles, DeAnthony Bell, all starting to come back off, NFI list, PUP list. Still waiting to hear on Naheem Hines. Kind of got more of a verdict on Nick Chubb in September. So unfortunately, it will be a spectator month for Nick. But again, all the reports are that everything is trending in the right direction. So we'll continue throughout the week here, big week here, and then we'll absolutely go bananas next week as we get into full-on week 1 regular season action. Dallas Cowboys, CeeDee Lamb just signed his extension. So for all you Browns fans that thought that was even a possibility, you put down the pipe. Welcome back to reality. CeeDee Lamb was never leaving Dallas. Jerry Jones may have his moments where the lights aren't on, but he is not a damn fool at the end of the day. CeeDee Lamb gets paid the second best wide receiver money in the NFL. And why? Because he damn well deserved it. I am your host, Jeff Lloyd. I appreciate everybody that makes Locked On Browns their first listen every single day. The everyday crowd is a bunch of filthy animals, but they're my filthy animals. I suggest you join the filthy animals by subscribing to Locked On Browns YouTube channel. The show is always available. It is always free wherever you get your podcasts. This has been your daily delivery of all things Dog Pound. LGB on ELOB. Let's go Browns.